think we have everyone. I'm Chief Scott Meyer, Chief of the Euclid Police Department, and we have some information to share. I'll begin by reading some of this. Many of us have been up for many hours, so I'm trying my best here and trying my best to follow this. On Saturday, May 11th, at 9:56 p.m., Euclid police officers were dispatched to the residence at 335 East 211th Street for an aggravated menacing report. The complainant stated that her child's father threatened to harm her and her mother. Officers arrived and spoke to the complainant, who stated that the suspect was on foot and possibly nearby. Officers went to check the backyard and were ambushed by gunfire from the suspect. Euclid police officer Jacob J. Durbin was critically wounded. Officers returned fire and the suspect fled the scene on foot. Officer Durbin succumbed to his injuries that same evening. No other officers were injured. Officer Durbin was properly sworn in to the Euclid Police Department on July 24th, 2023. During his brief time with the department, he served the residents and business owners of Euclid, as well as his fellow officers, with dedication, honor, and professionalism. His kind heart and enormous smile were infectious. The world was a better place with him in it, and he will be desperately missed by all who knew him. Thank you to our law enforcement partners who are assisting us in our time of need. We also want to thank the public for their enormous outpouring of compassion and support. My heart absolutely breaks. He's 23 years old. I want the public to understand what this looks like. I want them to understand the repercussions of this violence. It is absolutely disgusting, and it is affecting us all. My heart breaks. I'll also share that his father is a Euclid police officer, a current Euclid police officer. So we're dealing with multiple issues at the same time. I am so incredibly proud of our Euclid police officers. I am every day. I go to bed every night hoping that I won't get this information. And my worst nightmares come true. I also want to thank all of our partners, of our law enforcement partners, who have been a huge help in this and have worked tirelessly to bring, we'll get into this, but to locate and deal with the suspect. Again, I ask the public to pray for Officer Durbin, his family, the law enforcement community, to pray for each other. This has got to end. We got to do better than this. This is as good as we can do. I'm at the hospital last night dealing with the family, and while I'm there, unrelated to each other, there are 3 additional gunshot victims brought into the hospital during that period of time. I don't think any of these were life-threatening, but this is as good as we can do. As humanity, we got to do much better than this. I know that there are others that have some information to share, and I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate you getting this information out so that the public is aware of what can happen in a worst-case scenario when their police officers, when their officers are serving and trying to protect, and this is the worst possible outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Our thoughts and prayers in the U.S. Marshal Service are with our partners in the Euclid Police Department and Officer Durbin and their family. I want to, give thanks to all these officers who stand united behind me. They've been up all night long, searching for this suspect. never quitting, 24 hours on all the time, giving up holidays all the time. They're dedicated and they are committed. And I'm so proud of the deputy marshals, the ATF agents, the Euclid police officers, the state troopers, all the agencies that participated in bringing this case to closure. You know, I think what the chief was alluding to, there is no respect for law enforcement anymore, is there? Is there? But I'm going to tell you something. We are going to continue to stand united, as you see behind me right now. We're going to continue to stand united. There is no respect for law enforcement. It needs to change.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Hudson. I am the police chief for Shaker Heights. First of all, on behalf of Mayor Weiss and the city of Shaker Heights, the men and women of the Shaker Heights Police Department, we would like to offer our dearest condolences to Officer Durbin family and to the men and women of the police department for Euclid and the residents of Euclid. For my comment is this: to kill a law enforcement officer is to tear at the very fabric of our democracy. This young man was doing nothing but his job, which is to serve and protect this community. To the residents of Euclid, I would say this: you're going to have to give this department grace. They're grieving right now. This is not the time to challenge them on certain things. Give them grace. My office is involved with investigating this. Right now, there won't be too many more comments. The scene is secure. We have BCI coming in to do certain crime scene. My investigators are doing the investigation. There'll be more information to follow. But again, residents of Euclid, give this department grace at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. There won't be any questions at this time. Thank you, everyone.
When can we expect more information?
As it becomes available in a relatively pertinent time frame.
Great, thank you.
Chief, will the department release a photograph of the officer?
The photograph?
Photograph?
Yes.
A media release was sent out about a half hour ago with a photograph of the officer. That infectious smile, that warm heart you can just see coming through. If you haven't received it, please send me an email. My name is Mitch Hauser. My email is mhauser, Houser. That's at cityofeuclid.com. I'll make sure you get updated copies of everything, okay?
Is the search over for the suspect?
The search is over.
Can anybody verify the suspect? Is he alive? Is he dead?
We're not releasing anything else on that right now.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Sorry, Chief. Sorry, Chief. All right. I ain't got nothing to say. Here's my son. All right, did you take your I got a special TV. You get this genre.
Everyone have a moment for an update?
Yes. Yeah.
An update on the suspect?
Hold it.
All right, go ahead, take your time.
Sorry.
He's giving it.
Who's going to?
Do you want to elaborate?
Do you want to, wait, let me put this back.
Are you going to come down a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to come
We
down.
can't.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I was just looking at something.
Oh, no, no problem.
How far do you need us down?
About, yeah.
About right there. Well, that's where we were before. Sorry.
So, information on, on the suspect. So, again, very proud of our people. In partnership with the Euclid Police Department, they were able to track him to an address in Shaker Heights, which I believe you are all there today. We did find the individual deceased inside. and we are still working. BCI is going to be doing that investigation, but that's all I know at this point is he is deceased. So.
Just left from there. We heard gunfire multiple times. Is that an exchange between officers?
The suspect was highly armed, from all the information we had, correct?
Yes.
Including what I believe was possibly a MAC-10 machine gun. So, heavily armed. We know he had a very violent history, right? Obviously, by his actions last night, very violent. So at this time, we can, release that the subject is deceased, and that part of the investigation, the manhunt is now over.
We've heard that this is a self-inflicted gunshot.
Again, we're going to let BCI do that investigation, and they'll be able to elaborate on once everything is done. So we know everything, and we're not jumping to conclusions.
I saw
There was
EMS
an
going
exchange
into
of gunfire between officers and the suspect.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, again, everybody's been up for
Yeah.
a huge number of hours. We're trying to determine exactly what happened, so I'm trying to communicate with here. We have people coming in and out, people that have to go, people that have to sleep, we're changing people in and out. We're gonna have a lot more from that, and it'll be independently, the scene. This is an independent investigation being done by BCI. They specialize in these
Yeah.
kind of things. So I think that, that's our best course of action. We had a lot of highly trained, tactical officers on scene, and this went on for hours and hours, as you know.
Yep.
But he was not obviously willing to
And
give up and come out.
right, he was not willing to give up and come out, surrender peacefully. At the end of the day, we did a lot of things during the course of this day, including sending in a number of drones that he shot at, I believe at one point. And again, that part of the investigation will come out once BCI puts it together.
Do we have a rough number on how many agencies participated in the search?
Goodness.
Well, we got, several agencies participated. Our task force, the Marshals Task Force, and many of you covered over the years, we have, 300 men and women throughout northern Ohio that drop everything when a police officer is killed, and that's what they did. Again, they've been out up all night with the chief and his department, working hand in hand together. The first goal was to, because of the hard work of the Detective Bureau here, putting everything together, was to locate the suspect, and that's not always easy, especially when somebody doesn't want to be found, right? And they did great police work and teamwork again, and partnerships, putting everything together, and they were able to come up with his address today, and locate him in that address.
Was he taunting officers during the search, this manhunt, using social media?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get a better handle on that. That is my understanding that there may have been some. I mean, they're out there. They're in the public, so that's also something that we'll look at, and that may be the case.
There were a lot of terrified people in that apartment community that were stuck in their buildings. They could not get out. I know a 92-year-old woman was upstairs there. Is there any word on how anybody in there is doing? Are there any other injuries to anybody that lived there during this gunfire?
Yeah, no other injuries. Our people did a phenomenal job trying to evacuate as many people as they could during the day. They did the best job possible that they could do during this day. And I want you to think about that. A police officer was killed just last night, right? And they were on it right away. They had to, use every measure within their boundaries to go after this person, and including when you get to an apartment complex like that. We've worked the street for years, and it's very difficult to get everybody out, but you do the best job you can, and I believe they did a phenomenal job doing that today.
There was a person taken into custody last night. Video cameras got it. How are they tied to this case? Are they facing charges?
Chief, I'll leave that
At this point, I can't answer those questions. There were people that were removed from the house, and it may be that they were victims, but they weren't able to ascertain at the time who was who, so they may have been detained for officer safety at that period of time. We had a extremely terrified victim who initially contacted the Euclid Police Department And simply, I think in the first call just said, I need Euclid. And then throughout this, when the officers arrived on scene, she was horrified to even be outside talking to the officers. I think a lot more will come out as we are able to verify certain information about maybe even activities that had happened in the last couple days. But the public did have every reason to be terrified, and so did the law enforcement community. When somebody gets this desperate and they start thinking like this, they're capable of just about anything. Unfortunately, that type of personality is not pervasive, but it exists. And we have those people. He's not the only person, that out there that will resort to this sort of thing. Thank goodness it's that very rare individual. But those that are willing to do that sort of thing, they're extremely dangerous and very unpredictable. And you asked about agencies, so we're on a multi-jurisdictional tactical team, and there are multiple communities to include us and Shaker on this team. So there are all those communities. We had police departments from Lake County, from other counties asking to assist, and many that showed up that night. We want to thank all the law enforcement in Cuyahoga County who showed up last night at the hospital, and then was able to follow the officer's body over to the coroner's office. We appreciate the coroner's office. I appreciate UH Hospital. The nursing staff and the staff there was very kind and very compassionate. So it was, it's just a difficult thing. I guess in all this, I don't want to lose the fact that we have a 23-year-old human being. This Jacob, I could count on him every single time to do the right thing, make the right decision. He was kind, he was compassionate. He was also, he's tactically sound. I don't want anybody to think that he wasn't. I was just in-service firearms training with him within the last 6 months. So he's very proficient. He can handle those things. But he was a gentle giant. He loved public service. This is somebody who's still in the Army Reserves, who's served his country. Public service meant everything to him. He was kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of a guy. He just loved public service and loved being here. He was that rare find, and I'm devastated, and his family is obviously devastated. And to watch somebody's family who has to, view a body but can't touch the body, and it was just to watch his grandmother, to watch some of the family members was absolutely devastating.
And this is, by the way, Police Memorial Week. So it's a week to honor all of our fallen brothers and sisters. I just came back from Charlotte, where we had a deputy marshal killed and 3 officers. Again, there's a lack of respect for law enforcement, in my opinion. But again, we're going to stand united. We're going to stand strong. We're going to stand together, and we're going to win.
Chief, was he engaged? Set to get married?
Yes, he was engaged. His fiance was there last evening, and I believe the wedding was set for July. And I know that they were very excited about that. So, he's a young person planning their life. He's somebody who did all the right things in life, juxtaposed against somebody who decided to do all the wrong things in life. And I don't know, I don't understand how you can have these two extremes. I wish I understood it. I do know that, and I've been vocal before about it, I'm frustrated with the criminal justice system. I'm particularly frustrated here in Cuyahoga County. I understand balance, and I understand equity, I understand all those things. But I also understand law and order, and I respect law and order, and I respect the rule of law, and I think that's been lost here.
You guys have mentioned it several times, the lack of respect for law enforcement. How your officers are dealing with the unthinkable. How do you lead going forward with the challenges that you described?
Our officers are newer officers. They're coming into law enforcement. I don't think it's ever been a more difficult time, and so few people want to do it anymore. We're all struggling to just get folks who are interested in law enforcement. And how do you lead through it? You show that you support them. You show that you have their backs. You hold them to standards. All those things that need to be done and that are important to leadership. But it is. I mean, I read reports and I watch body cameras and I can't believe, and this is not everybody in the public. I mean, many do support and respect law enforcement. The majority, the vast majority of the Euclid community does that. They support and they respect law enforcement. But you have individuals who almost feel like it's their obligation and duty to be confrontational with the police, and almost look for those confrontations, or almost look to be difficult or non-compliant. And so much of what our officers respond to are not, their disturbances or their suspicious activity, and all they're there to do is check, to make sure everything is all right and everybody's safety is confirmed. And then to have somebody who's, that confrontational. Look, our officers are continuing to seize a record number of illegal firearms, illicit firearms, many from those who are teenagers. And literally, they're seizing multiple, last year was 200 and some firearms. So they're seizing them at this level, and you understand that they're doing this with very little confrontation. You're not hearing us involved. I mean, they're dealing with dangerous people with firearms, but they have the training, they have the skills, and they have the control over the situation to be able to handle those things. So, it's like a double-edged sword almost. I respect our officers for that, and I think that they're extremely tactically sound, but they're almost getting desensitized to firearms and dealing with firearms and dealing with violence. And in their capacity, they're always trying to balance, de-escalation and community engagement. All those things are important. Showing respect for people, and that's extremely important. But they also have to control situations, and they have to be in control of these situations that can turn volatile. So I think that it's a really difficult time, and we're asking these young men and women to do a very difficult thing. To me, it's the most complicated profession I think that exists. So, and it's and they do it with great pride and great skill. At the end of the day, they're imperfect human beings. These aren't robots. These are not machines. These officers. They try to do their best. They're always trying to do the right thing, and those that choose not to, we deal with that. But I want people to understand that. It's just, this isn't, I think there's this perception sometimes by maybe some that, they're this opposing force that are looking for confrontation or looking to, get involved in racial strife or other things. And I just want the public to understand that is not the vast majority of law enforcement. And we've done a lot in law enforcement in this area to diversify our police departments. We've worked on, on community engagement and engaging the public. We have so many different programs, and we're doing all of these things, but yet we're still dealing with all this violence. I can't solve this. The police cannot solve these things. This takes community effort. This takes churches, education. It takes parents. It takes, the whole society. The police department can't fix this. These things are bigger. They're jobs. It's economic issues that drive a lot of this, and I can't fix those. The police can't fix those. So I think we all need to work together and come up with solutions and also support, our public officials and our safety forces.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you.